Hi, everybody. Hey, welcome to week 6. Week 6 is going to be covering two chapters, chapter 6 and chapter 7. So here's kind of a brief rundown for chapter 6. Overall and stuff, it's a pretty simple chapter. There's some real simple commands that are going to be introduced. One is the delete command. Okay, there's a variation of that called erase, but most people use del. So you'll be able to delete a file, delete a folder, use wildcards to delete, a bunch of files based upon a common extension or a common file name or something like that. Then there's the rename command. Pretty simple, exactly what it sounds like. It's basically rename the old file name to the new file name. Then there's the move command. It's the first kind of introduction to move, and move is kind of a counterpart of the copy command, right? So copy, you copy from one location and put a duplicate someplace else. As opposed to the move command, you move this document from its original location to a new location. And then finally, the last of the 3 series of change directory, make directory, and remove directory. And in particular, the remove directory and stuff is very powerful and stuff when you add a switch called /s for subdirectories. So for instance, if you have a tiered folder, okay, or subdirectories, okay, and you want to get rid of everything from this point forward, including all the subdirectories, then you can use that /s option to delete or remove directory, including its contents, including those subdirectories below it, okay? If not, the remove directory was originally created not to just destroy without emptying the contents first. So if you had a subfolder that had files in it, you couldn't use RD by itself to remove that directory because it contains something. Much like if you were in a building and you wanted to tear down the building, well, you're not going to tear it down while you're inside. So the remove directory said, oh, no, step outside the building, then go ahead, delete everything inside there, and you're good to go. Well, some people thought, I know what I'm doing, so is there a more powerful switch I can put in there to say, yeah, tear down that part of the building, even though I'm in it, I won't be in that particular section, and then get rid of that room, that closet, all that equipment, just tear it all out, okay? That's what the /s does, okay? So let me go ahead and see about sharing my screen, okay? There we go. And I'm gonna go into the command prompt. So here we go. All right, so now we're at the system prompt, okay? And I put in my USB stick, okay? So let's see, yeah. My USB stick, if I come back out here again, let's see what it got assigned to. It got assigned to drive I, okay? So I'm in drive I. So I'm gonna type in I:, hit enter, and then do a directory listing, and I can see, oh yeah, here's all my files and folders, right? Okay, on my student data drive, right? This is the one that I can play around with. So in this case, in this chapter, I'm going to start kind of destroying this folder, okay, with these file contents. But that's okay, because what happens when I'm all done, if I want to go back to its original state, I just delete everything and then go back to that module that has the original student data folder, re-download that onto that USB stick and start new. It's what the book referred to as the WUGXP, WUGXP folder. I put that there in the module for you to be able to do that. So keep in mind, that's the concept here. What are we trying to do? We're trying to play with dummy files and folders, okay, make drastic changes to them, and then kind of like Etch-a-Sketch, clean it all up, restart the original image again, and then go from there. Okay, this way we all have the same common place. Okay, so first of all, let's go into the, I'm going to clear the screen. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom and type in CLS. Okay, and I'm going to use a shortcut. I'm going to put in del // , which is the quick way to get a quick and dirty help on the syntax of the command. So again, I can use delete followed by a name, okay, or I could use erase followed by a name. And then I have all these kind of switches to go through that. So for instance, if I had a file called letter01.doc, I can then say delete space letter01.doc. That's delete with the file name. I don't have to do anything fancy with it and stuff. Just delete command del followed by the file name. Now, if I have a path, I can give a path location. So if I said, hey, I want to delete that letter 01 and it's inside a folder called temp, then I would give the path and I'd say delete and then /temp /letter01.doc. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so that's kind of where the attribute of the command comes in play. So if I come back and I do my directory, I'll do it by wide view this time of my drive I. Let's say that first file, ast.99, okay? Let's say that I want to delete just that one file. So what would I do? del space ast.99. Press enter, and it's gone. How do I know? Let's do a dir/w, and I'll see ast99 is no longer up front like it is up here, okay? So it's been done. Again, I have other files that begin with AST, some files that are just called AST, some of them are called Astro or something like that, but they all begin with the letter AST. I can use a wildcard by saying del ast star dot star. That means I'm going to delete every file that begins with the letter AST, no matter what letters come after it, no matter what extension comes after it. Press enter. Okay, now let's do a directory/w. And now you see all the DELs have deletes of all the ST files are gone, okay? So again, I can do that. Now let's go, keep going. Let's say here's a file called award.movie.mov. I'm gonna use the rename command. So I'm gonna say ren/?. There's my syntax, not a whole lot. Rename, the drive, a path, and then the file name. That's pretty much it. Or ren, which is what most people use. So if I want to rename this award.movie file to rename the original file, ward.mov, I can give a new file called award.bak. Okay. Now if I do a directory/w, I can see that it's been renamed and it no longer has the MOV extension. Okay. It doesn't change what the content of the file is. It only changes the actual file name itself. Okay. The next one here is the move command. So move/?. Okay. Again, pretty simple command, not that many switches. Move the original file location and then its destination, and that includes any kind of paths. Okay. So for instance, let me kind of do this other way, dir/t. No, let's just do a dir. How about that? Okay. So down here I have a folder called data. Okay. And let's say I want to move this file called zodiac.fill into the data folder. Okay. So now I don't want it in the original location. I want it in this new location. So that's a move command. So I'm going to say move, and then the original file name, zodiac.fil, space, \data, and if I want the same file name, for right now, it's probably good practice for you to spell it all out, zodiac.fil. Okay. Press enter. It says one file's been moved. How do I know? Do you do R again? Oh, I don't see a zodiac fill in here. So now what I want to do is I want to do a directory of \data. That's the data folder. And I should see, up there it is, zodiac.fill. So I know that the move command has actually worked. Now finally, I'm in the root directory of drive-by. What if I want to remove the directory called data? Well, if I say rd space \data, let's see what happens. It says, it's not empty, I can't remove it. But if I say remove d/s, the switch to say and subdirectories \data, it says, are you sure? Because, you know, I'm going to destroy a lot of stuff. Yep, no problem. Okay, it's been deleted. And how do I know? If I do a directory again, I will see the data folder is completely gone. Okay, so those are the big elements that you're going to find here in chapter 6 that kind of should give you an overview for the pretty simple commands. You know, copying files or moving files in particular, or copier is one way of people doing backups. We'll have another chapter on actual backup command. But right now and stuff, you get the idea of, hey, I want to copy a file, I want to move a file, I want to rename a file. These are some basic little key tools and stuff that we use all the time. Okay, that might be helpful. Okay, so I hope this helps. You guys have a great day. That's the end of chapter 6. So let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen and end the recording.